In the last 3 months of 2025, Tesla sold 7,071 Cybertrucks in the United States. Then someone pulled the registration records. Nearly 1 in 5 of them was bought by a company Elon Musk controls. He was selling the truck to himself. 6 years earlier this thing was supposed to be the future. A pickup starting at $39,900. A factory in Texas rebuilt to make 250,000 of them a year. In the first quarter of 2026, it sold 3,519. That is 1.4% of what the factory was built for. This is not a story about a truck people didn't like. It is a story about what happens when the man in charge says, out loud, that he does zero market research whatsoever. A metal that cannot be painted and rusts in the rain. 11 recalls in 26 months. Stay with me, because the strangest number here isn't the sales figure. It's what the truck is worth 12 months after you buy it. November 21, 2019. Los Angeles. The lights go down, fog rolls across the stage, and out of it comes something that does not look like a truck at all. A wedge of bare metal. No curves. No paint. It looks like a low-polygon video game model that escaped into the real world. Some of the audience laughs. Then comes the demonstration. Franz von Holthausen, Tesla's chief designer, walks on stage with a sledgehammer and beats the door. The steel holds. The crowd cheers. Then Musk asks him to throw a metal ball at the window. The armor glass. Franz throws it. The glass shatters. There is a pause you can feel through the screen. Musk says, "Oh my God." Franz throws the second one. That shatters too. And Musk, standing in front of a broken truck on a global live stream, says, "Well, at least it didn't go through. It should have been a catastrophe." It wasn't. In 48 hours, 146,000 people put down $100 each to reserve one. That was the moment the Cybertruck became famous. A promise made on a stage, an object that failed to keep it, and an audience that believed the promise anyway. To understand why it went wrong, you have to understand the one decision everything else hangs from. The metal. Almost every car body in the world is mild steel or aluminum, stamped into curves by an enormous press in about 6 seconds. That process is a century old and it is extraordinarily good. Tesla did not use it. The Cybertruck's skin is an ultra-hard stainless alloy, the same family used on the SpaceX Starship. Musk said, plainly, that it would break the stamping press. So the panels are not stamped. They are scored and folded, bent along straight lines. Which is why the truck looks like that. The angular shape everyone argues about is not a styling choice, it is the shape you get when your metal is too hard to curve. And that decision cascades. Stainless cannot be painted, so the Cybertruck ships raw, and Tesla saved an estimated $200 million by not building a paint shop. But raw stainless is reactive. Weeks after the first deliveries, owners were posting photographs of orange spots on brand new trucks. One reported marks after 11 days. The manual tells you to wash it immediately and dry it after rain. And then Tesla began selling a paint protection film for the truck that doesn't need paint. $5,000. The car whose entire premise was that it was too tough for the world turned out to need more care than a normal one, not less. For years pass. The production date slips from 2021, to 2022, to 2023. On November 30, 2023, Tesla holds the delivery event at Gigafactory, Texas. Roughly 10 trucks are handed over, mostly to employees and investors. And the numbers on the website are not the numbers from the stage. The base model is not $39,900. It is $60,990. The top model is $99,990. By 2025 the entry price would reach $82,000. More than double what was promised. Companies miss targets. But this was never acknowledged as one. The $40,000 truck was the entire pitch. It was why 146,000 people wired deposits in 2 days. That truck was never built. And those were only the disappointments. Disappointments can be survived. What could not be survived was what started arriving in the mail. Recalls. April 2024. The cover on the accelerator pedal can slide off and wedge the pedal into the trim, leaving it stuck at full throttle. That recall covered every Cybertruck built up to that point. Every single one. June. 2 on the same day. 11,688 trucks, because the windshield wiper motor draws too much current and burns out. And 12,150 for a trim panel on the bed, held on with adhesive, that could come loose and fly off onto the road. Then 46,000 vehicles for another piece of stainless trim, where the adhesive becomes brittle and the panel detaches from the truck, again, essentially every Cybertruck that existed. Then headlights too bright to be legal. Then cracking around the brake disc studs, a wheel can come loose. 11 recalls. 26 months. And the resale market did the maths faster than anybody. A Cybertruck loses roughly 38% of its value in the first year. By May 2025, used prices were down 55% year over year. Insurers noticed too. Some carriers simply stopped writing policies. Now put the sales chart next to that. 2024, the first full year, 38,965, against a target of 250,000 a year. And here is the comparison that lands hardest. In 1958, Ford launched the Edsel, the car whose name became the industry's shorthand for failure. It sold 63,000 in its first year. The Edsel outsold the Cybertruck. 2025 was worse, about 20,000 for the year, down roughly half. It lost the best-selling electric pickup title to the Ford F-150 Lightning, and Tesla ended up sitting on roughly $200 million of unsold inventory parked on lots. And then the environment around the truck turned hostile in a way no product plan accounted for. Musk took a role in the second Trump administration, Tesla became a political object, and a movement called Tesla Takedown spread to showrooms across 4 continents. And on New Year's Day 2025, a man parked a Cybertruck at the entrance of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, packed with fireworks and gas canisters, and detonated it. Of all the vehicles in America, the one chosen for that was the Cybertruck. It had become a symbol. That was never in the business plan. Which brings us to now. The Gigafactory Texas line configured for 250,000 Cybertrucks a year has been quietly taken apart. Workers were moved on to Model Y production. Some crews were cut by more than half. In February 2026, Tesla tried the obvious fix and launched the cheapest Cybertruck yet at $59,000. Within weeks the price went back up to $69,000. And in the first quarter of 2026, it sold 3,519. The worst quarter in its history. Which brings us back to where we started. The registration data. Nearly 1 in 5 American Cybertrucks going to companies its own founder controls. Tesla has not announced that the Cybertruck is dead. The line still runs. But a factory built for 250,000 trucks a year, running at roughly 1% of that, selling a meaningful share of its output to its founder's other companies, is not a product launch anymore. It is a company managing an outcome it cannot admit to. So what actually went wrong? It wasn't the styling, plenty of ugly vehicles sell well. It wasn't even the recalls. What went wrong is the order in which the decisions were made. Tesla chose a metal because it was interesting. That metal dictated the shape. The shape dictated the price. And the price destroyed the market the truck had been sold to. Every downstream problem, the rust, the trim that flies off, the film you buy for a car that doesn't need paint, traces back to a material chosen before anybody asked what the customer needed. And when you go back to 2019 and listen, he told you. I do zero market research whatsoever. For a decade that was Tesla's superpower. It is how you get the Model S when every expert says electric cars are golf carts. The difference is that the Model S answered a question people were already asking. The Cybertruck answered a question nobody asked, defended by a company that had stopped being able to hear the word no. So here's my question, and I genuinely want it in the comments: was the Cybertruck a failure of engineering, or a failure of listening? If this is the kind of story you want more of, subscribe. There's another one waiting for you right now.